días. Good morning to everyone. Unas palabras de seguridad, instrucciones. Recordar el uso de mascarilla es obligatorio en todo el recinto. Solo pueden quitarse la mascarilla los ponentes una vez que estén en el escenario. Al bajar nos volvemos a poner la mascarilla. Por motivo de seguridad del campus Repsol no se puede comer ni tomar café en este espacio. Para aquellos que son fumadores, encontrar una zona habilitada para poder fumar en el edificio azul del campus. Para agilizar la transición de una mesa a otra, es muy importante que todos los ponentes estéis preparados y próximos y microfonados. Se sube por la izquierda, se baja por la derecha. Las azafatas irán recopilando las preguntas, unas tarjetitas que hemos puesto en las propias bolsas para que se pueda entregar al moderador. Y por mi parte, nada más. I'm going to introduce Natalye Paquin is the president and CEO of Points of Lights. Prior to join Points of Lights in 2017, Natalye served as Chief Transformation Officer at Girl Scouts of the USA, as well as the CEO of the Girl Scouts of Eastern Pennsylvania, largest girl serving organization and the most largest Girl Scouts Council in the US. She began her career in the non-profit sector as Chief Operation Officer in the Kimmel Center of the Performing Arts. An attorney by training, Natalye spent more than 15 years in the education sector in legal and executive leadership roles. Points of Lights and Voluntare met in 2008, in the first conference corporate volunteering we organized here in Spain. My role in this conference was look for organizations who were innovating in corporate volunteering, and I found Points of Lights, and I was heavily surprised when I talked with your colleagues and listen and learn about all the amazing things you were doing in the States. Points of Lights has always inspired us. You have to understand how to think not just in an organization company, but in the potential of the transformation of each person. So it's really an honor to be with all you. Today, 14 years later, I'm glad to have you here again, and thank you so much for being part of our dream. Thank you, Natalye.
Gracias, Juan. Buenos días. Good morning. Thank you all for joining us and for being here this morning. I am Natalye Paquin, and I'm so grateful to be here with you this morning. I know that you all could be anywhere, to our hosts, to our partners, and to our colleagues, and you have chosen to be here to listen and learn more about civic engagement and volunteerism and what you individually and your organizations and your companies might be able to do to make the world a better place. And so together we are partners in and for good. Points of Light is a global nonprofit that aims to inspire, equip, and mobilize people to take action that changes the world. We do this through our global network of nonprofit and social impact organizations and with our corporate partners, mobilizing millions of people to take action each year. We have a global network of affiliates in 38 countries around the world, and it is a pleasure to be a partner here with Voluntariado y Estrategia here in Spain. And it is an honor to have had their expertise and leadership to guide us over the many years. Throughout our work with our corporate partners, we help them engage their employees, work within communities, and implement the best practices of social responsibility to navigate the changing landscape of expectations. Over the past 2 years, nonprofits, and you all know this, and businesses have faced overwhelming change in this crisis, the pandemic crisis, and uncertainty. Yet, Despite these times, we've had an opportunity to deepen our work and our connections with each other. And during these last couple of years, we have all been forced to innovate and be more creative and honestly more efficient. The world is changing, and we know that we must change with it. Since 2020, Points of Light has conducted original research, and we've issued 3 original research studies about the civic engagement landscape. And this past April, Points of Light released global research on civic engagement, and we surveyed over 8,000 individuals in the United States, the UK, Brazil, and India, and we thank our partners that are here in the room who worked with us to actually secure and capture really good information about what's happening in each country. What we found, and this is just a snapshot, and so I invite you to visit our website at pointsoflight.org. The research is available for your consumption. But what we found is that 82% of people globally said that yes, a country should do something related to a social issue. And while that's something, the action varies from promoting social issues through ads, through public campaigns, through engaging with their employees. The expectation that a company must be involved actually cannot be ignored. And it's especially for you leaders who are in companies when you think about your workforce. You know how difficult it is to recruit and retain talent. And you know, one of our research studies, the one that we did last year in 2021, so we issued in 2020, 2021, and 2022. 2021's research focused primarily on millennials, and these are individuals between the ages of 26 and 41. They are the largest generation in the workforce right now. By 2025, millennials will comprise 75% of the workforce, and they will be in key roles and leadership positions. And within this research, what we found is that 67% of millennials say that they are visiting your websites, and they are doing research to check on where a company stands on particular issues. And so in the body of these 3 research studies, what we learned is that this next generation, they will not accept the world as we are delivering it today. And that includes what is the role of business. They are expecting and really, in many cases, demanding change and demanding a higher level of social responsibility. So what do? Points of Light, we went on a journey about 4 years ago, really trying to understand human behavior and trying to understand how individuals were volunteering and leaning into social issues for causes they care about. We like to say that this slide, we call it the Points of Light Civic Circle, and by the way, we believe that every person is a point of light. Every person has a point of light, and so this is your civic circle. But we like to say that this is a system for changing systems. And just like the SDGs provided the world a global framework and language for understanding the most pressing social needs of our time, in the Points of Light Civic Circle, we've expanded the concept of volunteering and created a framework and a lens for understanding and interpreting the behaviors that we all are experiencing around engagement and social issues. This is not something that just came to us. It actually is research driven. It was based on many interviews and a review of the landscape of how people are behaving. We know, and when you look at this framework, we know and we feel the experiences through our customers and employees and communities. And what we believe is that this circle provides ramps for opportunities for individuals to find ways to engage that have very low barriers to entry. Additionally, it provides companies opportunities to take multiple approaches to solving problems or supporting a cause that they care about, and hopefully, in combination, accelerate the pace of change in addressing systemic challenges. We encourage you to engage with us in a deeper conversation this afternoon when we unpack the elements of the Civic Circle and really talk about the application to real-world issues. And before we do that, I would like to just provide a little context of the engagement in terms of how we've used this in the past with a particular company. We know that you all are working on your corporate purpose and aligning your values and your actions to what is needed in community. And for us, we had an opportunity this past year, and actually it's continuing, to work with a company called Lowe's. And for this company, Lowe's was actually celebrating their 100th anniversary. And so they reached out to Points of Light. They wanted, for their anniversary, they had an aspiration to support 100 communities in 100 days with 100 projects. And so so they launched last year in 2021 what they call their Lowe's 100 Hometown program. And here is where they actually issued grants to communities to actually improve the communities. What's really interesting about the way that they approached the project is that one of the first steps that they took around engaging the community is listening and learning. And so, you know, we ask you, when you are working with communities and when communities have issues, have we intentionally reached out and created pathways and mechanisms to actually listen and learn to identify the needs of those communities? The company also wanted to engage in meaningful ways, and so as they issued these grants and these grant opportunities, they went through a process of mapping their assets. So a part of the assets of Lowe's, it's a big, it's a retail store that sells building supplies and materials for home improvements and construction projects. And so in mapping their assets, they knew that, of course, they had cash, but they also had supplies and materials and tools, and they had a skilled workforce that could help with the projects. But also, what we found in the listening and learning process is they were able to not only listen to the community to identify the community that from the perspective of the community, but also to map the assets of the community. And these are assets that we know are rich in every community. And I'll share a couple of these assets. And so when you're working with community, the questions that they ask is, who's the trusted voice in that community? Who are the influencers in that community? Who's the best team builder in a community? What leader or person can actually energize the community and rally them around a particular initiative? Who's the best translator? And so they speak the language of the community, whatever that language is, and they also speak the language of the company or the corporate partner or the NGO that they are working with. And, you know, who's the best connectors? We learned through this process and others, but this was very intentional about these soft skills and the fact that they are abundant in every community. And it's really critical to pull together partners and actually leverage these social capital and these skills and it could be the difference between success and failure when you are mapping your assets to a problem. And so the other thing that we learned in our partnership with Lowe's is that it's also very critical for you as companies to understand and support your employees' civic engagement. What are your employees interested in? Because they had an aspiration to work in over 100 communities, they actually learned which communities their employees were from, what types of projects their employees were interested in, and how they might be able to better engage their employees. And so one question we asked, and we asked Lowe's and we asked all of the companies that we work with, and we ask you to ask yourselves is, what happens when an issue arises that employees feel strongly about, and it might not be in line with the company's priorities? Is this a surprise to you? Or have you created space for employees to use their voice in constructive ways and also to listen and learn? Do you take annual or frequent pulse surveys, just giving people, your employees and your partners and colleagues, an opportunity to share with you what's on their mind? Do you have a way to match financial and monetary donations that your colleagues are interested in? We know that understanding your employees and what matters to them is critical to attracting and retaining talent. And as expectations from employees and customers and business grow in this ever-changing landscape, there is much to do. Big systemic problems can feel overwhelming to solve. We like to say that every system is strengthened or dismantled one decision at a time, and so every action matters, every decision matters. But we believe at Points of Light, as we know that you all do, in the power of people and the power of the collective to actually take action and make an impact and make the world a better place, make communities stronger and more vibrant and more powerful and more successful. By utilizing the civic circle to engage people to find creative solutions, we believe is critical to advancing change. And so what we ask is that we celebrate and harness this power and the power of collaboration. A very big takeaway from these last couple of years for us and what we have learned from the people that we are working with is that these past few years have forced us to be more innovative. We naturally, some of us are innovative, but we've been forced to be more innovative. We've also have been inspired and encouraged to partner and collaborate more in ways that we had not imagined. And we've also found that this has strengthened our connections, to each other, our communities, and sometimes the work that we are doing. We know that as we continue to strengthen our connections, we want to celebrate and accelerate progress. And so as we go through today's agenda and today's lesson, we reflect and encourage to commit to moments of connectedness that could deepen our impact. And so that concludes my opening remarks, and at this time I'm happy to entertain a few questions. Okay, thank you.